Okay, I'm back at the table, ready to keep talking about cutting entry holes into the gourds. So the tools that you're going to need are hole saws of different sizes if you want to cut different size holes in a different size of gourds, right? These things usually come in sets. That's what I have here. So I think mine goes from 1 inch to 1 1/4, half, all the way up to I think maybe 2.5 inches. So these different sizes will, I have this goes into the drill, right? Tighten that up. Let's say I went 2.5 inch, I just put this in it, click it. Now this is what I have. I bought this set about 20 years ago, so that's why I'm not going to tell you what brand it is. I don't think it's even made anymore, but they definitely still have hole saw sets out there which you can buy at your local department or hardware store, or obviously online like Amazon. Another tip of something not to use are paddle bits, okay? So this is an 1.1/8 paddle bit, otherwise known as a wood bit or wood paddle. These things are great for cutting rough holes through framing or plywood, presswood to run wire through, but they are awful for trying to cut a hole into these brittle gourd shells. So you will find this online, and just to show you real quick, one site that does recommend it, so thespruce.com, I don't know if you can see it too clearly. It's a common website for home stuff and garden stuff. It's called thespruce.com. This is also a site that recommends sanding your gourds, so this site is full of bad advice. But we'll go down here. You can see a photo maybe in there, or maybe on your own computer or device. They're using a paddle bit. They start cutting a hole with the paddle bit. You can see it is very rough. It looks like in this next picture that they gave up because it was so rough. Then they took a steak knife in this picture to cut out the outline of what this paddle bit left. And there's the result. It's an awful, rough-edged, oblong hole. Now, to be fair, the birds aren't going to care, but this is going to take you longer to do, right? You saw that they made sort of an outline with this, and they use a steak knife. Now it looks awful. It looks like a 3-year-old with a steak knife made these. If you're making a lot of these, the hole saw is going to be cleaner and quicker, and if you're hanging these by your house, you probably want something that looks a little nicer than something like they made, okay? So that's an example of why not to use a paddle bit. Okay, so you got the hole saws, you've got your gourds in piles. Now you're asking, what size of hole do I cut in them, right? And I can't really tell you because that's going to depend, 1, on where you live, 2, on the habitat that you live by, and 3, the type of birds that you want to attract. So if you go online, let's see, if you do birdhouse entry hole Google search, okay, here's one, birdwatchingbliss.com has a very detailed chart of all the birds, okay, that nest in cavities. Okay, so let's see, eastern bluebird, that's what we have, 1.5 inch hole. It's going to tell you the size of the cavity, 5 by 5 base. So these are approximate numbers. The cavity size, the birds aren't that picky. There are limits on each end of how small something could be for a bluebird, but this gives you a rough idea of what size gourd you should be using and what hole, okay, and for what bird. Another good website that I have in my outline is nestwatch.com or .org, nestwatch.org. So if you go to nestwatch.org, you click on the Learn tab. I don't know if you can see it on the screen. There's going to be a lot of options. You go down to, I would go down to Features, And the interactive website is called Right Bird, Right House. I click on that. They're going to have a drop-down menu of what region you live in. So I live in the Northeast region because I live in Virginia. Then you can select your habitat. Okay, I'm part forest, part open woodland, but I'm going to pick open woodland in the drop-down. Hit results, okay. You're going to get some results there of the birds that are going to be nesting in your area. So let's see, there's a Carolina chickadee. Let's click on that. You're going to be able to go down here. You're going to see when the bird's going to come into your area to nest. So early March, you need to start getting your bird houses out if you want to attract chickadees. It's going to tell you how high to hang it, what direction the entry hole should be. It's going to give you the entrance hole, so 1.1 inches here. So there's a lot of good things online, and some websites are particular for a type of bird. So if you're really into bluebirds, go to Cialis.org, for example. So let me pull that website up. Right here, Cialis, they are focused on bluebirds. Everything and anything you want to know about bluebirds is going to be there. They're going to have a lot of videos of stuff. So there's a lot of information online. So you got to figure out where you live, your habitat, and what type of bird you want to attract, and then you'll be able to determine what hole size you're going to put into these gourds, which you've sorted into piles. So the size of the gourd is going to also determine what hole you can put in here, or you should put in here, right? Now, where to cut the hole? You see a lot of websites online or pictures online where they've cut the hole, the entrance hole, very low. I don't do that personally. I think it's a bad idea because, one, you're not maximizing the cavity, and also there's a lot of predatory birds out there like house sparrows that go into like a bluebird house, kill the chicks, toss the chicks out, kill the eggs. I mean, if you look at some of these videos, these birds of all types can be very mean and vicious, especially when there's not enough housing in the area. They will kill each other or build over each other's nests to try to make their own. So I put the hole up about 1 inch below where the neck begins. Now, you may say that's going to be hard for the birds to get out. Well, I think it's going to help stop predatory birds from more easily getting in. 1, 2, the birds can hop in and out. The adults can very easily, and when the young ones start to fledge, they'll be able to hop out. And if the adults think it is too deep, they will just build the nest higher until they naturally, instinctively think it's close enough to the hole. So anyway, long story short, where I put the hole, where I recommend it, is about 1 inch below where the neck begins. Now, this is an interesting one. Should you put it on this side under the arch? Should you put it on this side? You can do either, okay? It kind of depends on how you want to hang it, perhaps. Put it on this side. This might protect it from the rain a little bit. So let me cut one real quick. I'll show you how easy and quickly it goes. So I put this in. I got the 1.5 inches. It's a very common size for a lot of the birds in my area, like bluebirds. So you've got the drill bit. That's going to start the hole and stabilize it, okay? So let's go about right there. Start going slow. Okay, the drill bit's in, so now I can go faster. And now the drill bit is all the way in, and I'm just going to turn it on and let it drill on through, okay? That took a split second. Took a little longer because I was talking. Perfect circle. You can see that's much nicer than the Spruce website where they did a wood paddle bit. If you're doing a lot of these, you saw some dust, wear a dust mask, okay? If you want to reduce the dust, if you're doing this inside in your basement or something, you can put these, dunk these in water for a couple minutes, you know, with your weights. Once the shell is a little damp, it will reduce the dust. So that's a little tip. Okay, so another efficiency thing. You have your 1.5 inches, for example, in your drill bit. You go over to your piles, and every pile, every gourd and every pile that you want to have an 1.5 inch hole, you do that, okay? That'll make things go by a lot quicker. Then you put the 1.25 inch or 1.75 inch or 2 inch, and then you go and do all the gourds with that size hole saw, okay? That's gonna really speed things up if you have a lot of gourds to do. Okay, so go through all your gourds, cut the entry hole, then we're going to go to the next step, number 4. Draw the circle for your flap, mark and drill all the holes. And this is the detailed section. This is a section with the trick that I came up with last year that you're not going to find online anywhere. So come back and watch this. I'm going to get some new tools on the table here, and we're going to start the next section in a minute.